Big shocker as far as the video goes. Look, I'm talking about cameras and not drones this time. What's going on, guys? Stasio here with FlightPath.com. And like I said, I have a camera video, but I'm not gonna go too in depth with this camera video. I've actually been using the a6600 for the past couple weeks now. So I guess it's kind of drone related because I've been shooting all of my drone videos with this camera as well as my 6400. So in this video, I just want to talk to you about some of the features that I really like about the new a6600 in comparison to my Sony a6400. Now, I was actually able to use the 6600 while I was at Sony Camera Camp not too long ago, but I did want to kind of use it for a little bit longer. We normally could rent stuff out there for half a day or a day, and I really wanted to kind of use this as my workhorse camera to put it in more of a comparison with the 6400. So thanks to Sony for letting me this camera to actually test out for the past couple weeks. And a quick disclaimer, I am not a professional cinematographer or videographer or whatever you want to call it. I just use my cameras as my tools for YouTube. The 6400 and I also have the a7 III. So it was nice to kind of finally play with the 6600 just to see where it lives and how it lives right in between these two. So if you're looking for a lot more details on these cameras, I'll make sure I have links to some of my friends on YouTube that really go in depth with these cameras. So make sure you guys check out those links down below. And the first thing, as far as price goes, we have the 6400 coming in at about $900 just for the body alone. Then you have the 6600, which runs about $1,400. $500 price difference between these two is definitely a big jump. So let's talk about some of the things of why it's a little bit more expensive than the 6400. Now, one of the biggest differences I felt right away when I grabbed the a6600 is the size of the grip. Now, the size of the grip of the 6400 is really small. You always have to have this kind of like pinky hole down here at the bottom. And if you have big hands, I mean, this thing is just really gonna be awkward because you're gonna end up having like this weird gap in between the body and your hand. The 6600 feels kind of like my a7 III, and it's mainly because of the fact that there's a bigger battery in here. Now, with that bigger battery, of course, you have a lot longer shooting time. Now, with the 6400, I would probably have to go out when I shoot with about 2 to 3 batteries. For some odd reason, those batteries on the 6400 just do not last. The a6600 battery, however, just like the a7 III, I could pretty much go a full day on one battery, where here, if I'm doing a product review on a 6400, I would probably go through maybe 2 to 3 batteries. So as far as battery life goes, that was a huge plus, knowing I can just be out and about with one battery. And not just that, that one battery gives you a much bigger grip on the camera, which feels really nice. Now with the 6600, they added the headphone jack, which is a big deal because you might not think it, but as a solo shooter, you want to at least be out in the field, especially if you're using something like this, which is the Rode Wireless Go, to be able to monitor it before you actually go out there and start shooting. Now, of course, it's gonna be very beneficial if you have like a secondary shooter that they can always monitor it. But even as a solo shooter, I found myself going out into the field, throwing my camera on a tripod or a monopod, and then testing it out and listening to it before I start recording. How the audio currently sounds while you're adjusting your audio levels was a pretty big deal, especially even as a solo shooter. One of the great features of the new 6600 is that eye autofocus both in video and photo. I actually did use that a lot when I was shooting video. You can see how accurate it was with the 6600 in comparison. They both do an amazing job. I mean, you probably wouldn't even notice the difference besides looking at that little square, but nice to see that they added that in there on the 6600. Now, the one thing I really like about the 6600, speaking of those buttons on the back, is that they come out a little bit more. One thing I don't like about the 6400 is that all the buttons are almost kind of flush with the body. So you always have to kind of look at what you're pressing, where here it's easy to feel them out and then press a certain button without actually having to look at the back of your camera. Now, one feature I saw missing from the 6600 is the flash up top, which the 6400 actually has. Now, I would normally never really use the flash, so I don't really miss it, but it was interesting to see that they don't have it on the 6600, which not that big of a deal. I don't use the flash. You never really want to use that flat looking flash anyways from the front, but it was nice that they have it on here. What I would like to see, and I actually brought this up at Sony Camera Camp, Sony actually had us talk in little small groups about some wish list stuff that we'd like to see in the future. And one of the things I did bring up to them was, could we possibly have a pop-up just like this or something very similar to it that would actually house a microphone? So that way, if I wanted to vlog with it, all I have to do is press this up, And then now I have a directional mic that's pointed right at me. Then once I'm done vlogging, I can put it away. Now, of course, they have these little small little mics up front, but the quality of these mics aren't that great. And it'd be nice to just be like, oh, I want to start vlogging. Boom. And now I have a directional mic that actually can come out a little bit more. So I did mention that to Sony. So if they do come out with that anytime soon, no one's ever talked really about that. So make sure you guys come back here and leave me a comment and credit me on that one. Now, the one thing that 6600 has is the steady shot or in-body image stabilization. But putting them side by side, I actually did some vlogging tests with these things, and it's very minimal. I really wish that they started using some maybe a little bit of digital image stabilization that we have, similar to what we have on like action cameras, where we're able to smooth those out a lot more. I was really hoping that we would have a much better stabilized shot from something like this, considering that big price jump. Now, one of the downfalls with the a6400 that also even the a7 III has is that if you plug in an HDMI monitor to it, you're not able to do face tracking in 4K. Now, I was excited that everyone was talking about it, and I was like, oh man, sweet. I'm excited that they have 4K autofocus when you plug an HDMI monitor into it. So I was really excited to test out the 4K face tracking with the 6600. When I was testing it, it actually only works in 24p and not 30 frames a second. People are gonna go, oh my God, why aren't you shooting in 24? Kind of a letdown, because I was excited to be able to finally plug in my monitor. I have a bunch of monitors here that I normally will use to see exactly what the camera sees while you're shooting. So I don't know why that is like that. It works in 4K 24, but not 4K 30 from what I can see or what I tested. If you guys know something else different, make sure you guys let me know in the comments section down below. Now, those are just some of the standout features I saw between the 66 and the 6400 that I wanted to talk about. Like I mentioned, I'll leave links down below to a bunch of other YouTubers that go into full details, full tutorials and specs on these Sony cameras. Make sure you guys check them out down below. I'm at the point where I always want to know I'm maxing out my gear. I do have to send back to Sony, which means I'm gonna now go back to this. And if I feel like at the end of maybe another month or so that those small changes on this one warrant me possibly upgrading, then I'll do so, but we'll see after a little bit of time. So make sure you guys also follow me on my social media, especially my Instagram stories, where I'll post a lot of behind the scenes of the gear I'm using, as well as while I'm out there shooting. I know we'll throw a lot of it on my IG stories, so make sure you guys follow me there if you guys want to see exactly what I'm using in the field. As always, guys, if you guys got some value from my video, a big like would be much appreciated, and also don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when I post new videos. This is Ultra Nastasio with FlightPath.com. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.